In 2020, I was invited to a dinner where every single person at the table had made at least $10 million online. And we were discussing how to really get rich in the online business space, specifically what type of offers to sell. And all of us agreed on what I'm about to show you. Hi, my name is Dan Henry. I've personally made about $35 million in the online marketing game, but there were people at this table who made well over 100 million. And again, we all agreed on this thing I'm going to map out for you here. I call it the 4 levels of offers. And in this video, I will show you, no matter if you're just starting out, this is what you need to master if you want to shave years of struggle off of making money on the internet. And if I went back in time to my younger self when I didn't know anything, before I lived in Dubai and had nice cars and Rolexes and all this stuff, when I was a dirt poor pizza guy, if I had 10 minutes to explain how to get rich, this is exactly the video I would make. So I'm gonna cover right now the 4 levels of offers so you can walk away from this video knowing exactly what to do next. So the first level of offers is what I call must be nice offers. These are offers that solve a problem that must be nice to solve. And for clarity, every offer that exists in the world, everything that you sell, solves some type of problem. So if you're hungry, you go to a restaurant. The problem is you're hungry, the solution, the offer is the restaurant. If you are bored, that's a problem, I'm bored. Well, what's the offer? A fidget spinner. So even the most inconsequential, dumbest product you can think of, it still solves a problem of some kind. And so the 4 levels of offers directly relate to how painful the problem is that it solves. And the more painful the problem, the easier the offer is to sell. Because most people think that you have to be very good at marketing or sales or whatever in order to make a lot of money online. And the truth is, yes, those things help. But if you take someone who sucks at marketing, sucks at sales, but they have a home run offer, and then you take somebody else who is really good at marketing, really good at sales, but they don't have a good offer, this person will make way more money every single time unless they have fucking brain damage. So instead of trying to be a top 1% marketer, and I'm not saying you shouldn't try to be great at marketing, you should, but you don't have to be the best in the world. You will get much further in this business having a better offer than trying to sell a okay offer, but just being the best marketer in the world, which is highly unlikely. And so that's why we call the first level of offers must be nice offers, because the problem is, it's not really that big of a deal. It must be nice to solve. The second level is annoyance offers, okay? What this means is it's a problem that actually annoys the customer. Like, yeah, I'm pretty annoyed by this, but ultimately I can live with it. Now, annoyance offers are easier to sell than must be nice offers, obviously, because the problem is more painful. But it's still not like super easy to sell. You have to actually be good at marketing and sales to convince people, hey, you need to solve this problem now. The third level of offer is what I call insomnia offer. Insomnia means, hey, I can't sleep, okay? This problem is keeping me awake at night. I'm laying in bed, I'm looking at the ceiling, and I cannot sleep because I'm thinking about it. These offers are much easier to sell, and the bulk of the $1 million offers, the things that make people rich, are insomnia offers. That's the majority of them. The next level of offers is what I call the bleeding neck offers. This means the problem is so painful, so urgent, that it's literally like your jugular is bleeding out. These offers are so easy to sell that if you happen to be lucky enough to have one of these offers and you're not a millionaire, you got problems, dude. And I don't say that to be mean, I say that to illustrate how easy it is to become a millionaire with a bleeding neck offer. I mean, you can't screw it up. It's like, you would have to literally you'd have to have a brain injury to not become a millionaire with a bleeding neck offer. I'll give you an example of how to think about this metaphorically and then tangibly. So a must be nice offer would be like, I have a paper cut. I'm not gonna go to the hospital for a paper cut. I'll just let the paper cut heal. I'll barely grab a Band-Aid. An annoyance offer would be like a scraped knee. Well, I'm not gonna go to the hospital for a scraped knee. I mean, maybe I would if I'm kind of a pussy, but ultimately I'm just gonna clean it and put a bandage on it. An insomnia offer would be like, I've twisted my knee, it's blown up, and it affects me from walking, I can't sleep, and you know, most people you would think, okay, I'm gonna go to the doctor, I'm gonna see the doctor, and hopefully I'm gonna fix this, but if I was in a really bad way, or there was something going on in my life and I couldn't get there, I was too busy, I didn't have the money, I could probably deal with it, but you know what? Most people would go to the doctor. So it's not a hard sell. A bleeding neck offer is literally somebody came up, stabbed me in the neck, I'm holding my neck, I'm walking up to the emergency room, I don't care what it's gonna cost, I don't care how much it is, I'm literally just banging on the emergency room door, praying and hoping that someone opens it in time before I bleed out and die. And so you see, if you can find a bleeding neck offer, and don't get me wrong, most of the offers I've sold are insomnia offers that made me a millionaire. I've made about 35 million in the online game. To be quite honest with you, I've never really had a bleeding neck offer. I've always had insomnia offers. These are incredibly rare. Now, I've had clients that have had them, and those clients do $2 to $3 million a month, and they've even said to me, like, Dan, you're a way better marketer than me. This thing just sells like hotcakes. And I'm like, yes, I know, because you have a bleeding neck offer. So for example, I have one client who does, I think, like 3 million a month, something crazy amount, and he helps veterans get their VA benefits. That's a bleeding neck offer. Imagine you're a veteran, you fight for your country, you get injured in war, and the government doesn't take care of you. And then somebody comes along and says, hey, we can get you those benefits, and we'll take a piece. Like, I mean, I can't compete with that. I'm one of the best marketers that I know. I can't compete with that. Now, I've gotten smart in recent years, and I've started creating what I call anonymous offers, where I create an offer in a completely separate space. I don't use my face, you don't know it's me. It's like a completely faceless offer. It's totally anonymous. And I've been able to grab some bleeding neck offers there and make a lot of money. However, I'm not gonna tell you what those are because you'll just steal it because you're a dirty little fucking internet marketer and I don't want you to steal my shit. I've learned from that, by the way. By the way, if you ever find one of these, never tell anyone because they will just steal your shit. Just make your money and live your life. Now, you might say to yourself, okay, well that's great, Dan, but what if I have an annoyance offer? How do I make it an insomnia offer? I can't just change my business. Great question. You can actually take an offer and change it on this scale depending on who you're selling it to, who the audience is. For instance, if you sold, let's say, some sort of bookkeeping offer, right? Could be a training, could be a done-for-you setup, whatever. If you are selling that to a family with a regular 9-to-5 job, well, that's kind of a must-be-nice offer because ultimately, you don't really need to do bookkeeping. I mean, I lived my life for 10 years when I was poor and I never needed to do bookkeeping. I just didn't. I just paid for my stuff, paid my rent, ate my food, and lived my life. Like, it would have been nice to kind of budget and stuff, but I didn't really need it. However, if I own an e-commerce website, and I am losing product, I'm leaking money here and there, I don't know where I'm actually making money, I don't know where I'm actually losing money, and there's some sort of specialized bookkeeping offer for e-commerce store owners, well, that could be an insomnia offer. Because if that's a real problem in my business, it is keeping me awake at night. For instance, I had a Facebook ads offer years ago, and that offer was an insomnia offer because at the time, people were desperate to get Facebook ads to work. The market has changed, whereas now Facebook ads are so difficult that people aren't even looking to get them to work anymore. They're looking at other options. They're looking at other ways to get traffic. So that has kind of become a bit out of scope. I'm not saying it doesn't sell. In fact, maybe you're watching this right now and you sell some sort of Facebook ads training or service offer, and perhaps you make a lot of money. But the thing is, you're not making as much money as 4 or 5 years ago. I was making $1 million a month on a $1,000 course related to Facebook ads. I can't make that now. I can't make $1 million a month on a $1,000 course. No way. And I was making that with cold Facebook ads. That was a completely different time in the market, a completely different space. So a lot of this depends on the time in the market, right? So what can change your offer on this scale is who are you selling to? What's going on in the market? How are they viewing the problem? I'll give you an example. One offer that will always fall into one of these two buckets, many times into the bleeding neck bucket, is anxiety offers, panic attacks, right? That's why when you look on websites like ClickBank and you see some of these offers that do millions of dollars, a lot of them are things like how to get rid of panic attacks. That's a huge one. Another one would be weight loss offers. Weight loss offers are almost always going to be in one of these two brackets because sure, there are some people out there who, yeah, it must be nice to lose a few pounds. It's kind of annoying that I'm a fat ass, but there are always people who lay awake at night and they're literally like, I've got to lose this weight. I've got to lose this weight. And that depends on the audience. For instance, one particular bleeding neck offer could be something like you're dying of cancer and you need to set your family up. There's this done-for-you service that creates a trust or whatever, something like that, to prepare your family for when you pass on. And the audience for that would be people who are in they don't have extreme wealth because they probably would have already figured that out. They have some level of wealth and they want to make sure their family gets it. That's definitely a bleeding neck offer. Whereas an insomnia offer could be something like, hey, there's cancer in your family and this protocol will help you reduce the risk of it. So as you see, these tiny nuances can move the offer up and down on the scale. If you say, hey, 25-year-old male with a six-pack and piss and vinegar running through your veins, buy my protocol on how to reduce cancer, I don't even think that's a must-be-nice offer. That kid's not going to give a single taxes. If you have, hey, here's how to budget and save a couple bucks in taxes, well, that must be nice for a normal family. However, if you already owe, say, over $100,000 in taxes, this is now starting to get into the bleeding neck. Like, hey, do you owe over $100,000 in taxes? The IRS is coming after you, and you want to reduce that by 80%. Book a consultation, but you better hurry because the longer you wait, the more the interest and the more the fees rack up. The sooner you book this consultation, the sooner we can see if we can reduce your tax bill by 80% or more. Ooh, that's at least an insomnia offer, if not a bleeding neck offer. Bleeding neck would be like, are you facing prison from the IRS? Let's stop these proceedings, let's keep you out of prison, and let's get this figured out, Mr. Wesley Snipes. So again, you have to ask yourself, where on this scale is my offer? Now, if you need help with this, I'm going to leave a resource in the description. There's a little AI prompt that I use to figure out, hey, whatever offer I'm thinking of, where does it fall on this scale, and how can I make it improve on this scale? I'll leave a link to where you can get that prompt in the description below. Now, I mentioned that there's a couple of exceptions to this rule, meaning, hey, could I become a millionaire with a must-be-nice offer or an annoyance offer? Yes, you can. And that comes down to having such immense trust in your market that people aren't really buying because of the problem, they're buying because of you. So when I first got started in this business, I tried some offers that did not land, right? They just weren't that good, they weren't that painful. And when I finally landed one that was more painful, I started making a lot of money and I started making millions. During this process, I started building a brand. I started becoming a celebrity brand, building trust in the market, getting results, etc. Once I had created those results. I mean, there was a point where I was sending emails out with 30 testimonials in an email. I had a Trello board, I mean, I still have it, but I have a Trello board that had over 500 screenshots of testimonials from people who had made a shite ton of money from my stuff. So I had overwhelming proof, overwhelming authority, and I still do, but this was years ago. I mean, even in the first few years, I was able to quickly create this authority, create this sort of trust in the market. And so I started getting a little lazy with my offers. I mean, I was coming out with offers that, I'm gonna be honest with you, were not that high on this list. And people still bought them. And I still made a ton of money from them. Why? Because I had created trust. So the most notable one was a mastermind that I had that was $55,000 per year. And I had 100 people in it at one point. Now that's $5.5 million per year. And the funny thing about that mastermind is there was no offer. It was literally like, I had all these other products that you bought, my books and some courses and a $10,000 coaching program. But if you wanted access to me, where every week I would get on a call and I would just answer questions, and sometimes we would have events, and just that, right? Just being in my circle, there was no offer there. It was no like, I will help you do this. It was just like, hang out with Dan and ask him questions and I'll help you with your business. Like, very vague sort of promise. 5.5 million a year. That did not come from the offer. That did not come from the specific problem, because there was no specific problem. You need help with your business, you want a second set of eyes, you want it from me. Why do you buy that? You buy that because I created trust. Why do you buy any mastermind? Because you want to be in the closer proximity to the leader, to the thought leader, so that you can get their insight, because maybe that'll change everything for you. Now, while that makes sense, while that is a good investment, because I had tons of people that invested in that mastermind and went on to make millions, ultimately, it really doesn't even fall on this scale because it's not a clearly defined offer. So the only way that you can replace this rule set is if you have massive, overwhelming authority. Otherwise, if you're new or you haven't built that authority yet, you can still become a millionaire, honestly even easier, by having one of these two offers, especially the bleeding neck offer. And here's the funny thing about that. As you grow in your space with these offers, you will create trust, and then you don't have to be as nutty about the offer. You can actually sell kind of like whatever, and people will buy it. And I'm not saying whatever in terms of bad products. I just mean it's not like that super trendy hot offer. As you do this, you will create trust. As you create trust, the strictness of this rule will go down and down and down, and things will get easier and easier and easier and easier for you. Hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one.